written notice and electronic notice provided to the Courier News and the Breeze, also posted on the website and the bulletin board in the municipal building, and filed with our township clerk. If we could start with a roll call, please.
Here.
Here.
Good evening here.
Yes, here. And I may help you on some of
Yeah,
I'm going to help you on the roll call. I'm going to help. We help each other. All right. So if everyone who's able, please rise. Join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Councilman Morgales to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have minutes for approval, combination of regular and closed sessions. The closed sessions have been circulated and are being initialed. Public meetings, January 5th reorganization session, those were distributed. Are there any edits or changes to January 5th's reorganization session minutes?
I've offered my comments for all three.
Okay, I've done the same. Any incremental comments? If there's none, I'll take a motion to approve January 5th.
I'll make that motion.
And a second, please.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor of approving January 5th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, January 5th is accounted for. Moving to January 19th, other than comments provided previously or separately, any other incremental edits or comments?
I'll move the minutes of 119.
Okay, I have a
Second.
motion, I have a second. All in favor of that, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, and for February 2nd, those were distributed, some comments were provided. Any other incremental comments or edits?
I'll move 2 minutes.
February 2nd's been moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. And all in favor of that motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, those are approved. Want to note for the record that Councilman Pedroso is here. We'll move to number 5, Township Council reports. I'm going to just mix it up and start with Council Vice President Ring.
All right, good evening, thank you. On February 5th, I attended the jointly sponsored Lunar New Year celebration at the Senior Citizens Center, and want to extend my appreciation to all the organizers of another well-planned event. As many may know, hopefully everyone knows, this coming Saturday is the fire elections in Bridgewater. I've had some people reach out to me, and someone actually gave me this afternoon a piece that was printed by our county clerk's office on January 26th of this year. A color piece with instructions. The cover of it says, where do I return it? And offers 3 ways to return your ballot, including the drop boxes, mailing it, or bringing it in person before 8 p.m. on election day. Unfortunately, you can't return it in the drop boxes because the clerk says we shouldn't open the drop boxes for fire elections. The polls are open until 9 o'clock. I'm not sure if you can return it in person. There is a small disclaimer on the bottom here, but in speaking with our clerk's office, apparently we're not the county clerk has given directions not to open the drop boxes for the fire election, but following the fire election, we should open the drop boxes for the school board's special election. And I feel like if we want people to vote by mail, we need to have one consistent set of policies as to the drop box. It's either open or it's not. We shouldn't be opening it for some elections and not others, because I don't think it's fair to our voters. So I share that.
Mr. Ring, if I could just also comment, I received that same pamphlet with my fire district vote by mail. I think it does open the possibility or even the likelihood of confusion. You know, we've had primaries, we've had general elections, we've gotten people in the habit of this behavior. Now all of a sudden we're changing the behavior. I'm concerned about the person that comes to the box, on Saturday thinking, hey, today's the election day, I can drop it. The box isn't going to be open. They may or may not be able to get to a post office. The post office may or may not be open. They may or may not get a postmark on it, and then people have been inadvertently disenfranchised. Or I shouldn't say inadvertently, through no fault of their own, they've been disenfranchised. So, while maybe there is a small disclaimer that says, your mileage may vary, or, whatever it says there, I think it is a shame that there isn't or wasn't some sort of more specific instruction provided for the fire district election. I mean, thousands of people will vote. This is a legitimate election that matters. So, I share that concern. I don't know if that will be fixed in time for the next time we go through this. I know our attention will soon turn to the referendum. And, for instance, people are somewhat used to early voting. There's no early voting from that. I guess according to you, the boxes are going to be open.
That's what I'm told by our clerk's office.
It's almost like the wild, wild west here, but,
You need a separate mailing to say when these rules apply and when they don't. One thing I didn't, the polls are open, Councilman Cardillo, 2 to 9?
2 to 9.
2 to 9 this Saturday, so. And then lastly, the meeting next week on Tuesday, the 21st, for the Zoning Board of Adjustment has been canceled due to a lack of agenda. Their next meeting will be on March 7th, which is the signature acquisitions, which is the proposal to demolish 4 office buildings on Route 22 and replace them with 2 large warehouses. And then the next planning board meeting will be on March 17th. The planning board earlier this week was unfortunately canceled due to a lack of quorum due to some members who were supposed to be there that unfortunately were not able to due to an illness. That's my report.
thank you, Councilman Pedrosa.
Thank you, sir. I attended the Somerset County Regional Center Partnership meeting last week, and I watched a great Super Bowl game. Whether you're a Chiefs fan or Philly fan or none of the above, it was a very good football game. The last thing I want to say is I'm just sad to say again, I guess in a couple of weeks there's another councilman who was killed. I guess this one in Hunterdon County, Milford Councilman Russell Heller was shot and killed, passed away, and just want to send my condolences to the family and our prayers for them. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Norgales.
Thank you. I attended the Somerset County Governing Officials meeting where the guest speaker was Robert Swisher. He's managing partner with Suppley Clooney, who happens to be our auditor. He was talking about collecting food to supply food pantries, and Bob has been active in this activity for many, many years. And in attempting to create some good-natured rivalry among towns, he was trying to encourage towns to, in effect, gather stuff and weigh off against one another. Colleen Mayer, the Somerset County Administrator, was there, and she was talking about her experience as the Fanwood Mayor. They had a weigh-off between the woods. It was Fanwood versus Garwood. Now, Fanwood has 7,700 people, and Garwood has only 4,400 people. She felt that this was going to be an easy one for Fanwood to win. However, she did not contend with a very motivated resident of Garwood who went door to every house in Garwood to get food. And the end result was that Garwood beat Fanwood hands down. So Bob is looking for a motivated person in Bridgewater who might be willing to lead the same type of quest. He doesn't say who we might be paired against. They try to get big towns against big towns. If anyone either here in the room or on the line wants to volunteer, give me a call and I'll make sure I pass your name off to Bob so he can provide insight. Very, very worthy task, and Bob has been at it for years. Brown Road, there has been some short-term flooding on Brown Road in the area of Papen during heavy rainstorm. It's been an issue for local residents. They were cheering yesterday when some of our heavier equipment was there to clean out some of the debris in one of the drainage, actually two of the drainage ditches. Sherlin Drive is one that I've touched on several times. That project has three components: drainage, curbing, and paving. Drainage is done, I'm proud to say. Curbing is actually on hold waiting, I would say, for warmer weather, but we have the warmer weather is here, but we may have some cold weather. So, there's every expectation that between now and the middle of the year that we will complete Sherlin Drive. Lastly, tomorrow I will visit with the administration staff and preview a new financial system that has very high marks. So I hope to learn more about it. That is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cardillo.
My comments will be pretty brief. As Councilman Ring has mentioned, we have our fire district elections this coming Saturday. I would ask that our residents come out and take a look at the budgets and please support them so that we can support the volunteers in our township and provide, in my opinion, excellent service in protecting our families and our properties. And also, Friday at 1 o'clock, I'll be joining Councilman Norgalis to review the financial system, and I'm sure it'll be exciting.
High point of our week.
Thank you.
A lot of high expectations there,
It
Mr.
might not be the
Pappas. You
sewer,
better be
but
ready.
It'll be something.
I'm disappointed. We're all fired up for the sewer presentation tonight.
All right, I have four brief reports. I also attended and spoke at the Chinese Lunar New Year celebration that was led by our Bridgewater Chinese American Association. That was back on February 5th, I believe. You know, multiple accolades for a wide range of people involved, but the one that I'll name is Henry Wang, because he is the president of that organization. As I've noted a few times before, the Bridgewater Raritan Regional School District is having its referendum on March 14th, and there are multiple community forums to discuss the referendums. Two that are now soon upon us, February 21st, which if I'm not mistaken, is next Tuesday, 6 p.m. at the regional high school. That's a community forum. And then on the 24th, which if I'm not mistaken is next Friday, at 6 p.m. there is an education foundation session at the Somerville Elks. Next item, wanted to bring some good news to the dais. There was an instance of really outstanding citizenship by a young gentleman from a neighboring community. This act occurred in Bridgewater. That's how we know about it. A gentleman named Robert Petrelli from Branchburg, this was right around the holidays, found a considerable sum of money over at Wegmans and turned it in, and that money was reunited with its rightful owner. Our reaction to that story is, you know, both that's a, you know, I think a lesson for all of us in good citizenship and honesty, and we have drafted a letter to Robert Petrelli, signed by the mayor, myself, and our police chief, acknowledging that positive act. So I certainly wanted to make sure that the record and anyone in the room was also aware of it. And then I also have a very brief commentary. This is now the second time in 2 meetings that unfortunately we acknowledge the death of a fellow elected official who was sitting at a dais likely not unlike this one. In this case, it was Borough of Milford, Hunterdon County Councilman Russell Heller, who was killed recently. And you know, certainly you know, that strikes home for anyone when leaders, well, when a leader in a community is killed like that. And that is the end of my report. I will turn it over to Mayor Minch.
Thank you, Council President. At a couple items, I won't tick through I was at a lot of the same meetings that some of the councilmen have mentioned. First, I'd like to just welcome Mr. Savo. It's always a pleasure to see Bill back again, and here covering for Chris. Well, he gets a little break, but always good to see you, Bill. Just a few meetings, and then kind of one announcement. I had the opportunity today to meet with the owner of Barry's Appliance, which is down in the Findern area. They've been in Bridgewater for a long time. So just sat and met with them, talking about some of the, learning about their business and some of the challenges and successes that they've had here in Bridgewater. I also had a very nice meeting. I'd like to thank Board of Ed President Steve Singer and Vice President Perry Walker, who had reached out to me, set up a meeting. They came in today along with Emily Clistry just to chat about any number of issues. So appreciate the opportunity to speak with them. Just a couple, I've been through, I think we're done for the most part with all the various reorganizations for the fire departments and rescue squads. I had an opportunity of swearing in many of the new line officers and other leaders of those departments and the rescue squads. And so those are always fun occasions. I know a lot of you are there for a lot of them, but wish all of them the best of luck in 2023 as they answer the various calls of service here in Bridgewater. On last note here on events, had a chance to join in a ribbon cutting for Mana Power Yoga up in Martinsville. This is a young couple who lives in Bridgewater, opened the store, and they ultimately, sister-in-law also is from Bridgewater. So it's a Bridgewater family that is continuing to grow their business here, and it's great to see as they open up that. So I wish them luck. Last announcement for today, we officially launched the Bridgewater Shield, Phase 1 of the Bridgewater Shield program. I mentioned this in the State Township address back during the reorganization meeting. This is the first part of Chief Midsack and the police department's and administration's efforts to modernize the police department, as well as have more proactive community policing programs. So phase 1 is really has 3 different components to it. One is a citizen police academy. It's an opportunity for citizens. It's a you sign up and you learn. It's a series of classes. It's not just kind of a one-time hour-long event. It's Chief, how many sessions is it? Do you know off the top of your head? 10 sessions. So for people who really want to have an understanding as to how the police department works and how it functions in our community, they can sign up. It's 10 sessions, so it's a commitment, but you will come out really understanding a lot about what it means to do policing in 2023, and specifically what it means to do for the Bridgewater Police Department. We've also, the other part of that, I guess part 2 of this phase is we have the virtual reality training, which we've mentioned before. This is training technology that we have for our department where officers can put themselves in different stressful situations, try to simulate it as much as possible, have training with it, and then obviously they can rewatch how they responded and learn what they can do better and how to respond in as close to real life situations as technology can generate. We're making this available to the public, so if the public wants to understand how this works and to try it out. We wanted to do it originally, but with COVID, it was just difficult. So residents can sign up, and they'll sit with a police officer, and we'll go through, let them experience it a little bit, and talk about that. And the last part of phase 1 of Bridgewater Shield is Coffee with Cop. So it's going to be opportunities for residents to sit down with our chief and some of the officers to chat about whatever it is they want to chat about. It could be something, significant policy questions, or it could simply be asking them how their weekend was and who they were rooting for in the Super Bowl. Whatever it is, the effort here is to try to get our police officers out in the community, interacting with the community as much as we can. So this was launched today. Chief Midsack and I did a video, which is out there, talking about the program that we've put out to the public. It only took Chief Midsack and I a few takes to get it right. I think we did it in maybe 4 or 5, but we got it done. So I thank Chief Midsack for his leadership on this initiative and several others that we have kind of in the works, some of which we will talk about more in closed session tonight in terms of other parts of the Bridgewater Shield program that we hope to ultimately bring forward with the council's support. So that is my report for this evening. Thank you, Council President.
And Mayor, just for clarification on a couple of agenda adjustments that we've made for anyone in the audience and to make sure that we're in good sync on the dais here. The presentation on the flood ordinance, that will not be occurring tonight. That
No,
will hopefully occur our next meeting.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we have enough time in closed session to talk with Chief Mitzak and the captains over, some of the next phases of the Bridgewater Shield program, which we need to discuss with the council in closed session first before we can move forward with that. So I want to make sure that we left enough time in the meeting so we weren't doing that at 10 o'clock.
Okay, so 8 will be postponed until likely our next meeting. As a result, we will not be introducing 11A because we need to have the presentation first. And also, I believe we are making some administrative adjustments on 12M, like Mary, so that will also not be heard tonight. Beyond that, hopefully we'll stick to the script. So, Mayor, we have a proclamation. We're in the midst of Black History Month, so I believe I'm turning the program over to you, correct?
That is correct. We have a proclamation here. I will, like we do with most proclamations, I will come down and read it. Okay, we have proclamation recognizing Black History Month. Whereas throughout Black History Month, we acknowledge the irreplaceable and unquantifiable contributions of African Americans to our nation's history, culture, and progress. Whereas in 1915, Dr. Carter Goodwin Woodson, scholar and a child of former slaves, founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, which is now known as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas Dr. Woodson started the first Black History Week in February of 1926, and for many years, the second week of February, which aligns with the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln, was celebrated by African Americans in the United States. And whereas in 1976, during the United States bicentennial, Black History Week was expanded and became Black History Month, it is now recognized and celebrated all over North America. And whereas after the Civil War, former slaves migrated from the South and settled in communities all over the United States to include Bridgewater Township. And whereas Hobbstown was founded in 1920 by Reverend Amos, General, and Robert Hobbs, that they might live in peace and dignity and build a foundation to pass on to their children. And whereas in the century since its founding within Bridgewater, Hobbstown has been a critical pillar of our historical and cultural community, the legacy of which we are fortunate to be able to treasure to this day. And whereas the Hobbstown founders built homes, businesses, recreational areas, and the Macedonia Baptist Church, all tangible signs of the legacy passed down through the generations to our current moment. And whereas we remain eternally grateful that the legacy will be preserved for our entire community, but more specifically, that it will be bequeathed to the next generation of Hobbstown families, who will always remain integral members of our Bridgewater community. Now, therefore, I, Matthew C. Mensch, Mayor of Bridgewater Township, and the Township Council do hereby proclaim February 2023 Black History Month as a reminder to all Bridgewater residents to reflect and learn about the role of the African American community has had in the development and progress in our society nationally and right here in our community. And I note that Reverend Hobbs is here, and thank you, as well as Damian Stackhouse, who is here. Sir, thank you very much for, I'll present this to you. Thank you for
Thank you, Mayor. As I said, we're bypassing number 8 tonight, which brings us to number 9, meeting being open to the public. Members of the public wishing to address the council on any matter will be allowed 2 minutes to speak unless there are unusual circumstances. I'll entertain a motion to open to the public.
So moved.
That motion.
We have 2 motions. We'll call one of them a motion, one of them a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we are now open to the public for anyone wishing to address this council on any matter. And we're going to need to turn the podium. Sorry. That's where we need that swivel. Okay, going once, twice, and 3 times.
Seeing no movement, motion to close public input.
Okay, is there a second on that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And are any opposed? Okay, thank you. So we'll move to 10A. This is public hearing and final action on a bond ordinance providing an appropriation of $8 million for various road improvements, including but not limited to Fulton Avenue, Hancock Avenue, Duval Street, Farmer Road, Juniper Lane, Birch Drive, Evergreen Drive, Hillside Avenue, Orchard Street, Loft Drive, and Eastbrook Road, including curbing, milling, paving, drainage, sewer, and other miscellaneous improvements, and various road overlays throughout the township, in and by the township of Bridgewater, in the county of Somerset, New Jersey, and authorizing the issuance of 7.6 million bonds or notes of the township for financing part of the appropriation. Why don't we have a brief discussion of that first? So Mayor Mensch, if you want to provide the
Sure.
context.
Obviously, as council knows, this was introduced at the last meeting. We are thrilled to continue year 3 of our 5-year road program. The roads that you see here aren't necessarily the total list of roads. There are certain sampling of them. As I know we've just discussed in the past, by going out early, the earlier we go out, the better pricing we get. Because a lot of these companies look to get their business lined up, they're ready to go. It's the most competitive time for us, and obviously it helps us if prices go up further to get prices locked in now. So we've had success in the past, and we're continuing to do that by each year. I said we've been earlier every year on this. We have discussed it with our finance team, so they understand the impact on the budget. And as the council knows, just with this, the budget impact on this set of bonds this year is minimal because we don't actually borrow. The timing of the borrowing is such that we borrow it this year, we put the down payment, which is already in the budget. So this does not have a significant impact on this year's budget when it comes to this bond issue.
August of 2024.
Yes.
Would be when it would hit our budget.
Right. So that's how, there's a lag between the budget time and this. So anyway, I mean, we're thrilled for this. I thank Tom Genova and Bill Burr for their work on this. We have engineering firms ready to go to get the engineering work done. So once we get into the spring, we can have folks out paving roads. And we hope, like every year, we hope to have the road program done in the year in which it is funded. That doesn't happen for one reason or another. Last year, we had most of 2022 program done in 2022, but sometimes because of different issues, it gets rolled into the 2023. So hopefully this year we'll have every road done as close to possible in this budget year. And like we did the first year, if we are out early enough and we get good enough pricing, then if there is, if it comes in under budget, then we may have the opportunity of going out again in the late spring or early summer for a separate, another set of roads. That's the hope. So we're as conservative as we can be with the pricing. We'd rather have extra money than not enough. So so Bill is pretty conservative on the pricing, but we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. President, I make a motion to open the public for,
Well, before that, I just wanted to provide some of a bit of additional commentary. This is going to be year 3 of 5, your first 2 years successful. As Council Vice President Ring pointed out, we begin to see the financial impact from bonding roughly 18 months later. So we have seen it in we have seen it from year 1. We soon will see it in year 2, this being year 3, and the Budget and Finance Committee met with administration and others, and we are confident that this commitment is one that we can comfortably absorb and still deliver a fiscally prudent budget, which, as we discussed last time, we hope will be publicly revealed in the April timeframe and acted upon in May. again, some of that schedule is out of our control. And just last quick comment, it's just for the math, 7.6 million in 10A will ultimately be combined with 400,000 from 12A, and that's how we'll reach the 8 million. So I'll take a motion to open to the public. And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're open to the public for any comment about 10A, the pending bond ordinance.
Seeing no motion, move it to close public input, move for final action on 10A.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, and we're on roll calls. We're gonna do teamwork here. Mike's gonna read the names, and Linda's gonna still record the vote.
Mr. Cordilla?
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Here.
Mr. Pedroso?
Consistently with my prior votes, I'm going to vote no. Brief statement. Today, this governing body is voting to place our fellow Bridgewater residents into an additional $8 million in debt. And although I strongly support the vision of the road plan, and I admire the steadfastness of Mayor Matthew Mensch's leadership in having the foresight and determination to improve our township roads, I disagree procedurally in the way this governing body is proceeding today. In order to properly manage the debt, it is basic knowledge that one needs to have a grasp of how much money is coming in to determine how much money there is to spend. As of this moment, we have not received the budget for 2023 from the administration. Therefore, I do not know the state of our township's finances for calendar year 2023. And without knowing the details of our 2023 budget, I cannot blindly support increasing the debt of our township by $8 million. Of course, I'm not blinded by the fact that our township needs roads repairs. As I said at the beginning, I strongly support investing into much-needed road repairs. Certainly, we should invest as much as we can in fixing our township roads. But as much as we can only be determined when we know how much we can. And right now, I simply don't have that answer, so I feel it would be irresponsible of me to support spending $8 million without knowing the details of our 2023 budget. Had I been presented with a budget prior to or simultaneously with this ordinance and had the access to the financial information needed to make a responsible decision, it may very well be that I would be strongly supporting this ordinance today and be its biggest advocate. However, I'm being asked to place my fellow Bridgewater taxpayer resident into a debt while I simply have no knowledge of the township's financial soundness. This is a debt that ultimately belongs to the Bridgewater taxpayer to pay back. We should know whether $8 million is the right number or whether a tweaked lower number is more financially responsible after having a complete picture of our 2023 budget. Therefore, I will vote no on this ordinance, not because I don't support our road plan, but simply because it is presented prior to the 2023 budget.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes, and just a clarification, because the sound may not have picked up, that Mr. Norgalis, your vote was?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, we will be moving now to 11. We're skipping A. We'll go to 11B. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 52, Alcoholic Beverages, Article 5, that is hours, Section 52-16, which is hours of business of the Municipal Code of the Township of Bridgewater, so as to amend the hours of operation to permit sales at 9 a.m. Mr. Ring, I know this is a topic that you've worked on. If you want to give some commentary.
Sure, thank you. So since before I've been on the council, this governing body every fall has entertained a resolution to allow 4 of our township 30-something licensed establishments to sell liquor earlier on Sundays around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And it's driven by one particular retailer. And while I support that, I feel like if we are going to every year allow an exception, then we need to look at the law itself and say, it's time to change the law. So having done that and starting to look at this and a couple different things, when you start looking at it a little bit deeper, the state obviously allows, so the state, interesting enough, basically says to licensed establishments that a municipality by ordinance establishes the lawful hours during which alcohol may be sold. So when you look at our existing ordinance, we don't specify hours on Saturday. So that's a little bit of a gray area because are we allowing alcohol on Saturday or are we not allowing it by not commenting on it? So in looking at addressing the Sunday issue, decided to also address and provide clarity to the Saturday issue. The state is very specific in the current regulations that any hours that we allow a licensed establishment that serves alcohol, restaurants, bars, to sell alcohol, retail establishments are allowed to serve certain alcohol. They generally restrict hard alcohol, but beer and wine can be sold during those same hours in retail establishments. So when you look at one versus the other, there's a little bit of exception there. There's one caveat interesting enough. The state of New Jersey considers Newark and Jersey City to be cities of higher class, so they have completely different regulations on their laws. But the other piece I'll mention, so that, and then you start looking at some of our neighboring towns. Go to a neighboring town of Warren. They do not, they actually regulate the hours you cannot sell alcohol. And so they prevent the sale of alcohol between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m. 7 days a week, except for Christmas, you can't sell between 3 and 7, and New Year's Day, you have to close between 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. So I think we are hurting ourselves by restricting the hours in which we allow restaurants on Sundays for Sunday brunch. I can go to Warren. Someone wants a Bloody Mary with their Sunday brunch, they can do that before noon. Can't do that in Bridgewater because we don't allow it. So I think we know the governor is talking about changes to liquor licenses, which is going to put further pressure on these establishments if more licenses become available. I think we need to help them. We need to clarify the Saturday issue and fix our situation with Sunday so that we're not continually providing an exception to a couple establishments. So I'll move to introduce 11B.
And thank you for your leadership on this. I'll just make a brief comment before we go to a second and then presumably to a vote. I'm swayed for the importance of this by being sufficiently slightly more business friendly. We know that some of our businesses face a lot of challenges. This is an instance where the liquor licenses that we issue can be slightly more valuable. There is certainly great uncertainty about that value with potential or pending action in Trenton. And this will also allow us to not have to make the exception each November. So that's what sways my point of view. Any other comment, or do we go to a vote?
Comment.
Okay.
This issue is coming up almost each of the years that I've been on this council. I'll call it the Wegman request, and I'll classify. And I like Wegmans. It's a good store. A lot of good stuff, and people like working here. It was a food store that sold alcohol. It has now become a liquor store that sells food because they have been expanding their product. They asked for this request because supposedly it affects their bottom line, and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I'm steadfast in feeling that the rules that we had before were adequate, and I will not support this.
So I'll ask if there's any other comment, and we will need a second.
I have a comment. Council President.
Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I will not support this ordinance, and not that I have an issue with people drinking or consuming alcohol however they want in the privacy of their home. I really don't pass any judgment on it, and frankly, I have a drink or two with a friend once in a while, so I certainly enjoy that social activity. However, as I consider this topic as to what's best for Bridgewater Township as a whole, I can't ignore the scientific data that exists out there. And I've researched this topic prior to this meeting tonight, and I just found overwhelmingly that the data and studies show that increasing alcohol sales as little as 2 hours has a direct impact in the crime the community faces. And there are numerous studies out there that confirm this. My priority is in keeping Bridgewater safe. I don't really see a substantial benefit for this. I don't, in any way, and I just think that I certainly don't want to do anything that's going to increase our burden on law enforcement, increase the safety of our residents, and so I'm convinced by the science, and I therefore won't support increasing the hours of alcohol sales.
Okay, I'll second the motion, and why don't we go to a roll call? We'll go to our dual roll call vote here.
Mr. Cardilla?
I'm going to support this motion. I know we've debated it for the past few years, related to Wegmans' request and so forth. But I think the 2-hour time difference, if it will help our businesses, I will support it. And I don't think a 2-hour difference makes that much difference, to be honest with you.
Mr. Norgalis?
No.
Mr. Pedroso?
My vote is a no, and I'll send to you, Councilman Cardilla, some of the scientific studies that have been done.
I read those studies, Philippe. I have an opinion also.
Okay, very well.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes, and I don't know if you're up to, oh, here, I'm gonna read it, okay. We're gonna go with the real teamwork. So the public hearing and final action on this ordinance will be held on 2 weeks from tonight, which is March 2nd, 2023, in this court chamber at 7:30 p.m. We'll move now to 11C. This is an ordinance authorizing the Township of Bridgewater to renew a lease agreement with the Martin Luther King Youth Center of Somerville Manor Incorporated for certain retail property in the Township of Bridgewater. That is Block 515, Lot 4, formerly known as Block 4430, lots 532, 533, and 542 through 548, also known as 1298 Rogers Avenue, for the 5-year period running March 1st, 2023 to February 29th, 2028, and that is at an annual rent of $1 per year. Administration, any commentary?
Well, this is continuation. We own the land where the Martin Luther King Jr. Center is, and so we continue to lease that with them. We've done this for several years. We do it in, as you can see, 5-year blocks of time. And I was also able to attend the Martin Luther King celebration that the students had there this month, which was, or last month, I should say, which was just a phenomenal experience. Just nothing like hearing young kids stand up and talk about their dreams, and it's very inspiring. So great center, great work from the folks there, and we were pleased to continue the arrangement we have with them.
I'll move it.
All right, I have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
I have
one question.
Is there a question, comment before we vote?
I think there's more than one.
Section 7, it says the tenant shall annually submit to the business administrator a report setting out the use in each. Have we been getting that report, Mr. Pappas?
No. And
Would you please ask that as part of this, that they produce that report and share it with the council?
yes, sir.
And Mr. Ring?
I apologize, I may have missed this. I just want to clarify. We leasing the land, the building, or both?
Both.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to our tag team vote now.
Mr. Cardilla?
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes. And the public hearing and final action on this ordinance will occur 2 weeks from tonight, March 2nd, 2023, in this council chamber at 7:30 p.m. Okay, so we will now start with our resolutions, starting with 12 unlettered. This is adoption of the refreshed Bridgewater Township emblem. If I may, I'd like to make some brief commentary about this. This is an initiative that I've taken on. The resolution really speaks for itself, provides a considerable amount of background here. Basically, we're talking about our township emblem. This is not our official seal, which I might add was affixed to the Black History Month proclamation for anyone who wants to see what that difference is. But essentially in 1976, a contest was held 30 individuals entered that submitted entries into that contest, and Ms. Barbara Concuzio, her design was selected. She still lives in the township of Bridgewater. I spoke to her twice, once at the relative beginning of this process, which was last winter, and most recently this morning, showing her and describing the refresh that we did. My sense in looking at our township emblem, there's always been a few aspects of it that just didn't quite look right. And I think that some of it could be essentially over time. The representations have been a copy of a copy of a copy, which isn't quite as pure as the original. I felt that this was an opportunity to bring a refreshed design, something that would continue to incorporate the important symbols that are in our current emblem, but just a bit more of a modern look to it. Specifically, the items that are in both the old design and what will hopefully tonight become the new design include the geographic outline of Bridgewater, trees representing our scenic nature, George Washington representing our historic nature, and a Revolutionary War era flag. I want to acknowledge that Ms. Cuzio's design has served us exceptionally well for over 46 years and will live on now through this this refresh work. Again, I spoke with her a year ago and then again today, learned of her intent. I'm happy to report that we continue to represent that intent, in some ways potentially even better with this new design than what was ultimately adopted and has been in use. I spent a considerable amount of time getting buy-in, was successful in doing that by and large. Also secured a donation of the new design and the work required from East Coast Media, owned by Bridgewater resident Andy Fresco. I feel that this is an outstanding time to be doing this because next week, February 21st, will be the 225th anniversary of Bridgewater's incorporation. That had to do with an action taken by our legislature. And next year, 2024, will be the milestone 275th anniversary of our royal charter. One of the updates made in the emblem is a much more much more prominently featured acknowledgement of the year 1749 and what that means to our community. As I said, I was successful in gathering consensus from a considerable number of stakeholders. Want to speak to the rollout plan briefly, acknowledge that this is a replacement only plan. We are going to be replacing items as inventory is depleted or assets are in particularly poor condition so that we can make sure that this is as cost effective as possible. The emblem that's on the wall behind me will not change. The etching on the window will not change. Those certainly remain representative of the emblem at the time that this building was open. That's really the story here. As I said, I was successful in building a considerable coalition of stakeholders who are supportive of this. Want to acknowledge it is not unanimous. There is an alternate opinion on this topic, and I guess I can recognize Councilman Pedroso to offer his thoughts.
Thank you, Council President. I very much appreciate that. There are a few people here tonight. How many people in the audience have actually seen the new proposed emblem? None have raised their hand, and isn't that unfortunate? The Bridgewater emblem is a symbol. We see symbols everywhere in life. Companies use symbols as logos. Townships use symbols as emblems. These emblems do not possess much value in themselves, but their importance arises from what meanings they convey or denote. Our Bridgewater Township emblem is a symbol that has within itself the significance of history, and the meaning behind it is that it is momentous and meaningful. Bridgewater did not pick any arbitrary year to adopt its first emblem in 1976. That was the 200th anniversary of our Declaration of Independence. After holding a public contest for a design, Ms. Barbara Cusio, a lifelong resident of Bridgewater, won the contest with a watercolor design depicting the contest requirements of a scenic and historic township. Then the township asked Mr. Frank Maples, another Bridgewater resident, to modify Ms. Cusio's image into a graphically printable representation of Ms. Cusio's design, resulting in the adoption of the emblem version we see today on our township's building, flag presentations, and vehicles, and right here before our heads this evening. Since its historic adoption on the 200th anniversary of freedom, our Bridgewater Township emblem has stood in front of the podium at countless mayoral addresses, was present during many swearing-in ceremonies. Our emblem has stood high in council chambers, has been worn proudly on our vehicles. It has been present while our brave men and women, police officers, protected and served our residents, and has been the symbol of our township in countless presentations of public and historic importance. The emblem of the township deserves a respect its meaning and the history it represents. Township emblems are not readily changed, tweaked, or refreshed without justification. Some townships have faced the need, as certain aspects of their emblems' depictions may be insulting or provoke unintended bad feelings, perhaps misplaced after decades of equality improvements. For these municipalities, emblem changes may be necessary. But even in those towns, changing the emblem most often involves public input and participation, often asking residents, similarly to Bridgewater in 1976, to provide designs in an award contest. After all, the emblem belongs to the people of the township it will duly proudly represent. When searching the internet, it was difficult to find examples of situations where other towns had changed their emblems. The few examples that I did find support the fact that township emblems are hardly ever changed, and in the rare moments that they are, almost always involve public process. The emblem that is displayed above our heads, bearing the words scenic, historic, and chartered 1749 in the county of Somerset, belongs to the people. Although I don't support changing our emblem, if this task is going to happen, then the process you are about to undertake is simply inappropriate. When municipalities do undertake the task of changing their emblem, it is almost always after public input and public participation. Frequently, such emblem changes are done only after a contest of sorts is held so that anyone in the community can provide their submissions. Through this process, the public is involved in the ultimate rendering of the emblem, and it is then a true reflection of the community. Without such public input, you are depriving our community of their rightful involvement in the process of designing their township emblem. If this governing body is going to change or refresh the township's emblem, then it too should have a process established that encourages and invites public participation for the emblem's ultimate design. Last year, Massachusetts embarked on changing its state emblem to remove a Native American man, which many found offensive to indigenous people, but the public was asked to provide submissions. Similarly, in 2017, New York's village of Whitesboro's emblem showed a Native American man being overpowered by a white person. In 2021, the town of Mashpee, Massachusetts, adopted a new emblem because the prior one had a colonial image of a sword raised above the head of a Native American. In our home state of New Jersey, in 1997, a national atheist group asked the borough of Clayton to remove the Christian cross from the town's emblem. I think that was 2007. But the governing body took the position that the emblem represented Clayton's history and fought back. Recently, in 2011, Union County's emblem came under attack, with some upset that it shows the murderous shooting death of Elizabethtown's Hannah Caldwell during the Revolutionary War. But not even Union County decided to change its seal, instead respecting the historical and symbolic meaning it has beyond its visual image. Somerset County was founded in 1688. An accidental courthouse fire in 1737 destroyed significant records, so we don't have the precise date of the adoption of the county's emblem. But we do know that our county emblem has been unchanged for nearly 300 years. Likewise, The counties surrounding us have county emblems that are hundreds of years old. Our neighbors, too, have emblems, many older than Bridgewater's. Emblems that are even older than Bridgewater's, and yet the governing bodies in those municipalities and counties have protected them, respected their emblems, and did not feel the right to refresh their designs. We all watch across America as someone who changed our history with removal of historic statues, changed the words of history, and removed symbolic symbols because it fits some political agendas. Our flag and national anthem are also symbols. For example, we've seen our national symbols be disrespected when people don't stand up for the national anthem. Symbols do have real significance and are bigger and beyond the mere imagery they show. It is their history, where they've been, the meaning they gave to so many, and what the symbols represent that ultimately matter. The Bridgewater Township Council now has a resolution before it to change our township symbol, our emblem, that has represented our township and our community since 1976, an emblem that has a history for almost 50 years and was adopted after public participation and on a historically significant date. Some may not like the visual appearance of our logo and want to change it because it is graphically unpleasing to them, but this is not a reason to change symbols that have a historic meaning, and such symbols, except for unusual circumstances, don't need a refresh. It is not the norm for townships across this country to refresh their emblems. Even more liberal-thinking governing bodies have the common sense to understand and resist the temptation to change such symbols, because these emblems stand for something larger than the arts or words on their face. And so too does our Bridgewater Township's emblem, as it is a symbol with historic roots that has stood for something when it was displayed at township functions, at council meetings, at police ceremonies, swearing in speeches on cars, windows, and flags, and when we celebrated moments together as a community and shared sorrows together during natural disasters and passing of community heroes. It is an emblem that stands for our history, our community, and what we have been through, and what we are today as Bridgewater. I therefore respectfully ask you to protect our history, our heritage, and what we are as Bridgewater, as has been proudly displayed in our township's original and only emblem, and vote no on the resolution to change our Bridgewater emblem. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make one clarification and one item I may have forgotten to say. The emblem, the proposed emblem, is in the resolution, which was it's a full color version, I might add, and has been in the publicly available information. Correct me, over the last 48 hours or more.
Michael, there's a big blow up somewhere of it.
And 72 hours. And just, further clarification, the original artist, Ms. Barbara Cusio, I spoke with her this morning, showed her the design, and she was very excited about it. She believes that in certain key regards, it represents her vision even better than the one that was ultimately adopted. That one candidly represented design limitations in 1976 that simply do not exist today with computer-aided design programs and the like. So it is my pleasure to move this. I don't know if we want to go to a second or if there's any other conversation.
I'll make a comment, if I may.
Please.
Thank you. I just want to first clarify one of, while I appreciate Councilman Pedroso's comments and historical review there, I did want to clarify one thing that was not stated fully accurately, and that is that in December of 2015, the County of Somerset launched a campaign to develop a new logo that was formally launched in 2017. So the county has done a new logo recently. But having said that, I think what we're talking about is not a new logo. I think as Council President Kirsch mentions, this is a refresh. This better defines the trees that you would see up there on the left-hand side of the logo. And I know some of you may say, where are the trees? But there are trees depicted on the left-hand side of that logo. And it better defines the portrait of George Washington, which appears on the right side of the current logo. And it also, very importantly, better defines, this particular one does not show the stars, but the reality is the current logo refers to the Betsy Ross flag. And as we know from the flag we display in the back of the room, it's really the Hopkinson flag that has the historical significance to Bridgewater. So I think this logo, it is not a new logo by any means. It's a refresh of what we currently have. I think it captures all of the pieces that are still there and better defines. This is not a logo change, it's a logo refresh. And based upon that, I'm happy to second it.
Thank you. Any other commentary?
I'd just like to make a short comment also. When this project was mentioned a little over a year ago, I guess there was a lot of thought about, Michael, what are you talking about? This is our township emblem. However, since then, we've had multiple discussions about it, and for me, it all came to fruition at our last meeting when Councilman Ring had a group of Cub Scouts in the room, and lo and behold, one of the things that came about was a discussion on the township logo. And the question was, do you see the trees? Do you see George Washington and all the scouts who were here? No, they didn't see that representation in our logo. And I thought that was, to me, that was pretty interesting because I often looked at the logo and I couldn't figure it out either. So I think the work that Michael has done in speaking with the original artist and doing a refresh on the logo, I think makes sense. And I am prepared to support the resolution.
Okay. Any other commentary? We go to a vote.
I just want to clarify that. I think what Councilman Ring is referring to is the branding design that Somerset County uses on its web face and documents, but it's not, it's the equivalent of what, hold on a second, it's not the equivalent of what we're talking about. We're talking about the emblem/seal that we have in our township. That's the same emblems that Somerset County still uses to this day. If you go on Somerset County's webpage and you look and you just Google it, you will find that seal on their webpage that they use, and that's the same exact seal that's been in existence for 300 years.
Okay, why don't we go to a vote?
Just two quick comments. Councilman Kirsch, I just, I know you've worked with the administration to share your vision on this. I know you spent a lot of time on this, and I thank you for all that. I think it looks really, really sharp, and I think you did a nice job. I will echo Alan's comments where when you first told me you wanted to do this, I was a little skeptical, just in terms of what it was going to look like, and I think you did a really great job. You spent a lot of time on it. It looks good. The one comment I'd like to make sure we clarify: the seal, there's an official thing, the seal. That is not this emblem. It has never been this emblem, and it's not going to be this emblem, the new version or the old version. The seal of the town of Bridgewater is what is on the proclamation that we did tonight. Literally says seal on it. It's got a star thing on it. That is what is stamped. The legal seal of the township of Bridgewater.
It's not changed.
So I just want to make sure, I don't know that matters to anybody necessarily, but I want to make sure the distinction is clear, that the seal is not changing. The more decorative emblem that goes on, press releases or letters to the public or the letterhead, that is what we're talking about. So
Yeah,
that's
but
my two comments, just want to share.
Mayor, the seal you're referring to is what?
I'm sorry, let me give the floor to Mr.
I just want to respond to the mayor's comment. The seal that you're referring to is the seal that's used when documents are signed, when documents are executed. That's the equivalent to a corporate seal someone would use, but it's not really displayed anywhere. What we're talking about tonight is the visual emblem of the township. It represents Bridgewater Township on the face of vehicles and here in our council building and in numerous places.
Yeah. I just want to make sure you had mentioned before. I think it was you, Councilman. I could have been somebody else, but you mentioned seal and emblem kind of in the same breath. I just want to make sure we're clarifying in case anybody cares. It's two different things. The seal is the official stamp. It is only used on official documents.
And by the way, a few of our autos have it.
Interesting.
But
That's what I'd like to talk about. Very briefly, I would hope that, and I assume this is going to pass tonight, that this becomes the emblem that is used on business cards, on stationery, on the sides of our official vehicles, that we are consistent. Because I understand now there is a wide variety of representations, for one reason or another.
It would be our intent that this will be the emblem that will be used on everything moving forward. There will be a transition period because we're not going to spend money
That's
to
okay. No,
take
that's
off stuff. So it will probably be a few years before
That's okay.
ultimately it's completely transitioned.
That's fine, thank you.
And the clear intention is to be as budget-friendly as possible. In the resolution, there is acknowledgement that our administrator will be the owner, or his designee will be the owner of the implementation plan, and we will certainly be making sure that this is done when inventory is depleted or items are in particularly poor condition and require an update. So I think that's has exhausted our conversation. I made the motion. I don't know that we have a second
I
yet.
second it.
We have a second, so we'll go to our roll call.
Cordilla,
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis,
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso,
I just want to reiterate that I feel strongly that this process should have gone before the public, and the public should have been involved in the redesign or refresh, as you call it, of our township emblem. I vote no.
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes. Okay, we're now going to go into our letters to 12A. This is a resolution providing for emergency temporary appropriation for the current fund capital improvement fund for $400,000. Commentary from the mayor or administrator.
No, this is 12A, as Council President, as you mentioned, this is appropriations so that we can begin moving forward with the road plan and get that process moving.
This becomes the earnest money if you're going to bond or something that you have to put forward.
Correct.
Yes, down payment.
And for clarification, I know this was discussed 2 weeks ago. The reason why this is required is that we have a temporary budget of 26.25% that's set by state law. That is intended essentially for the ongoing operations of government until we can establish our new budget. An item like this is not typically designed or intended to fit within that 26.25%. Is that
I
correct?
move 12A.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, a roll call, please.
Mr. Cordilla,
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis.
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso,
Consistent with my prior statements, I'll vote no.
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes. So we're moving to B, a resolution providing emergency temporary appropriation from the current fund for $114,000. Commentary, administration, or mayor, please.
This is our contract with,
Middlebrook.
Middlebrook Health Commission. Same thing, we have to enter this now, we need the money to do that. This is the same contract that we've been in for
2 years.
past couple of years.
If I may, 12D says the contract is $113,404. Why don't we make this $113,404 as opposed to, so we can be precise. I would make that
That's fine.
motion, that
Right.
the number be changed in the heading and text from 114,000 to 113,404.
Let me ask you a question, Mr. Pappas.
But we've got two
Why,
different pieces.
why can't we fit this into the appropriations this governing body approved back at the reorg meeting, where we already approved an appropriation amount that exceeded last year's budget? Why can't we just fit that number into that? I'm saying-
I mean, from the, in the temporary budget? Is that what
Well, I mean, we gave the administration the green light on a budget that was, what was that percent? 26.5%?
Roughly a quarter, a little bit more than a
over last
quarter of
year's,
the,
huh?
a little bit more than 25% of the previous year's
Right,
budget.
so,
This is for the entire year, and the commission is, the arrangement with the commission is that the municipalities would fund this for the entire contract period.
Because the budget's for a quarter of it, basically for expenses that are across the entire year, we only have a quarter or 26.5% of that authorized. So if they were asking us for a quarterly payment, we could pay a quarterly payment, but we can't enter into a contract because the CFO can't certify that the funds are there in the line item because the line items were 26.5%. So because of that, that's what these three items are for. We have the money in the bank, but from the municipal accounting laws, the CFO can't sign the documents without the council approving this one. The same thing with 12C, which is for the recycling contract with the county. We are unable to enter into the contracts without the council.
So it's essentially a timing issue where we've appropriated 25% or hair over 25%, but on this line item, they want 100% because it's an upfront payment.
Right, if you look at every ordinance, every resolution that spends money, there is usually a CFO certification of availability of funds attached to everything that involves spending money. The CFO can't sign items that exceed basically the period of time by which the temporary budget is in place.
Okay, thank you, that makes sense to me.
So I think I heard from Mr. Norgalis the request to clarify in all appropriate places that this is 113,404, and that was a motion, correct?
Yes, sir, that was.
Okay, is there a second?
Just to clarify, that's a motion to modify the resolution?
Yes.
Motion to pass the resolution as with
No,
13.
we don't, we got to vote to modify it first, don't we?
Modify and approve.
Approval as amended.
Yeah.
Modify
Okay.
and approve.
What are we
Modify as
what are we
amended.
modifying?
The amount.
From what to
Clarify
what?
that it
Wait,
is
Philippe,
113,404.
Philippe, we rounded up. In 12B, we rounded to 114,000. The actual contract amount is the 113,404. So
Howard's
we,
cutting $546.
Howard, being a fiscal hawk, as always, wants to make sure that we're not running around the extra 500 bucks somewhere and,
Trying to make sure that the bucks match.
That's-
It says public health services, professional services, but it's not 114, it is 113,404.
I see, so we're lowering the number
I'll-
basically by.
I'll second the approval as modified.
Okay, we'll go with a roll call, please.
Remember, I like numbers.
Oh.
They are our friends.
yeah, Howard, actually, it is 13, it is in the it's the agenda's wrong. I think the resolution's correct.
Resolution.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm in D. I'm gonna sit back over here.
Okay.
We're good.
113,404 it is.
Mr. Cordilla?
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso?
Yes,
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes. And we're going to move now to 12C. Resolution providing for emergency temporary appropriation, current fund, capital improvement fund, $295,000. Sounds like this is a similar situation, but just to provide the commentary on this one.
Yeah, it's the same, and by the way, it's the current fund, not the capital improvement fund. And this is for the recycling contract with the county. So, same situation.
so it's a one-year fee, basically.
Yeah, it's a one-year fee.
That's not a one-year fee.
Oh, I'm sorry, take it back.
This is for a portion of it. There's a,
This is for
this is roughly half.
What's it?
This is
Half.
roughly
Actually,
half.
more than half. The 12I is for
It-
$452,405.
But it exceeds the,
It exceeds the quarter.
And just for clarity, the title on the resolution is right on the agenda. It should read a resolution providing emergency temporary appropriation for current fund, $295,000. So is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second? And a roll call on this one.
Mr. Cordilla?
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso?
Yes,
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes. Moving to 12D, authorizing continuation of public health services with Middlebrook Regional Health Commission for the year 2023 at a cost of $113,404 pursuant to the requirements of NJSA 26:3-1 et sec.
I'll move 12D.
I'll second it.
Okay, any conversation, or are we pretty much exhausted this with the last one? Okay, we'll go to a roll call.
Mr. Cordilla?
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso?
yes,
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes. At 12E, Somerset Regional Animal Shelter Management Committee, we are appointing Tony Hoffman, alternate representative. She has successful tenure, previous tenure on this board. And is there a motion to approve 12E?
I'll move it.
That motion.
I have a question.
Okay, well, just to clarify, did I have a motion here?
Yeah, two
A
motions.
second over here, or was there a question or discussion?
Yeah, my understanding is we have a open full member, and by appointing her as an alternate, she's going to, in essence, act as a full member, and I just didn't know if there was a reason why.
I don't think at this time we have an opening. I think
Only
later this
Philippe
year
and
there
Robert.
may be an opening.
Oh, you and Robert, right?
No, no, we appointed, at the reorg meeting, we appointed Jim Widely as
Okay,
a regular
I'm sorry.
member
All
of
right,
the
thank you for
Animal
the
Shelter.
clarification.
Okay,
I
so we
withdraw
have
my
a
comment.
motion and at least one or more seconds. So if we could roll call 12E, please.
Mr. Cardilla,
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis,
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso,
Yes,
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes, at 12F, this is the zoning board of adjustment, appointing alternate member number 4, Claudio Vesio. And I know our board of adjustment is very active, and having a full complement of members is critically important. So I'll take a motion at 12F.
Move 12F.
Second.
Thank you. Vote, please.
Mr. Cardilla,
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis.
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso,
yes,
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes. G, authorizing award of contract for professional legal services for Assistant Township Prosecutor, pursuant to Section 4-76 of the Municipal Code, to Sean Kane Esquire of the law firm Cleary, Giacob, Alfiero, and Jacobs LLC in an amount not to exceed $10,000 for a term commencing January 1st, 2023 through January 31st, 2023. Motion on that?
I'll move it.
Is there a second?
I'll
Sure.
second it.
Okay, and is there any commentary we should have first?
The only comment I would make is that there will be, I think, at the next meeting, probably resolutions for public defenders, because as or alternate public defender, or both, I forget which, but as Britt Simon was, in fact, he was our public defender. He has now been officially sworn in as a judge. He was sworn in on Friday. You know, as we reshuffle that, I know we have at least have an alternate public defender, and I think we have to also do public defenders. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So yeah, Mr. last meeting, we'll have an alternate public defender at the next one to fill in from Mitzner, going from alternate public defender to public defender.
Bad order change.
Yes, yeah, we're shifting up and backfilling in the last position.
All right, a roll call at 12G, please.
Cardilla,
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis.
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso,
yes,
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes. 12H, this is an authorization to amend the 2022 recycling agreement with the Somerset County Board of Commissioners to accommodate an additional 140 households. This will be an additional cost of $3,738 for a total amended agreement, which this is last year's number, $452,031. Just commentary on how we grew by 140 unanticipated households.
The tax assessor has assisted us this past year. As you will recall, there were some discrepancies and some questions that had been raised by members of the governing body. The Department of Community Affairs is consulted. They provide data to the county planning department, and Mr. Dorado, our assessor, really was the one to clarify and correct what had been some errors that had been persisting. So this includes, I thought I had the memo, the Delaney and several other properties that had been constructed over the past year or so.
Thank you, and I just wanted to reiterate, and this is, also the case with 12I, we will continue to be on top of these calculations to make sure that we are paying exactly our fair share and certainly no more. So I'll take a motion at 12H.
I'll move it.
And a second? I'll second, and a roll call at 12H.
Mr. Cardilla,
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis,
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso,
okay,
sorry, Mr. Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes. 12I, which is my least favorite bill of the year. Authorization to execute an agreement with the Board of Commissioners of Somerset County for 2023 recycling in an amount not to exceed $452,405 based on a fee of $26.70 for services for up to 16,944 households funded from various accounts from 2022 and 2023. Those with an eagle eye will see that there is now a difference between 12H and 12I of 14 houses. Those 14 houses are the legitimate growth of new residential units in Bridgewater Township between 2022 and 2023. I guess I'm happy to see that the fee is the same year over year. I'm also happy to see that we are getting this bill and accounting for it in February, whereas I know there's been other years where it's lasted much longer into the year. I know when we had a presentation from Somerset County Recycling, there was a pledge to get us this information earlier and as part of our budget planning process. So it seems like that is a tangible improvement this year over previous ones. Any additional commentary?
I'll move 12I.
I would make one observation. During the last two collection sites, I'm in a town, a part of the town that has the wheelbarrows. There are actually guys getting off the truck and taking it around to the back and dumping it in the back. So something's happening with the collection process. It's not the regular truck that comes and picks it up. It's two guys now.
The automation isn't quite what it
Yes.
was.
Yes, we haven't caught
I
up.
think that probably relates to, as we heard last year, they're having a hard time getting new trucks.
Yeah.
So I'll move 12I.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, a roll call, please.
Mr. Cardilla,
Yes?
Mr. Norgalis.
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso,
Yes.
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes. J, award of second-year renewal option for the HVAC contract to TLP Climate Control Systems, Inc., located at 400 Reich Drive in Millstone, New Jersey, 08510, for planned service and repair to various township HVAC systems in the amount of $38,610 for quarterly maintenance and $10,000 for emergency repair if needed, for a total amount of $48,610 for the period beginning March 1st, 2023 through February 29th, 2024. Any commentary?
I have a question. Have we been satisfied with their work?
Yes, this is a new contractor that we engaged last year. The contractor that had been engaged before was unable to fulfill the requirements that we needed in a timely manner. This firm, Mr. Genova and others, and myself included, have observed in their plan of action and their work and are very satisfied.
With that in mind, I'll move 12J.
I know we've had some challenges this year, even though the weather has been rather mild. Driving by here, I think I've seen their truck here probably almost every day in the last week or so. I guess my question is, do we think $10,000 for emergency work is sufficient, or?
We hope and believe so,
Okay,
but that remains to be definitively seen.
but we're confident that they're the right contractor?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay, I think we had a motion, correct? And a second? Okay, roll call.
Just a motion.
Oh, only a motion we need a second.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. A roll call, please.
Mr. Cardilla,
Yes?
Mr. Norgalis.
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso,
Yes.
Mr. Ring,
Yes.
President Kirsch.
Yes. K, approving participation with the state of New Jersey in a safe and secure communities grant program administered by the Office of the Attorney General, Department of Law and Public Safety, up to the amount $32,400. Any commentary?
This is an annual, I'm sorry.
Question. I assume the $269,000 match is covered by the police salary component?
I believe so.
We're not paying cash.
Right, it's a match, so I hope it's not something else that comes out of the budget. If we could just.
My understanding is that this funds some of the traffic safety officers, which would be in the budget. And
Howard, in the fifth whereas clause, you'll see it references a specific line item which says police salary and wages. So it is in the fifth whereas, the last sentence on the fifth whereas.
Whereas here.
Is the question satisfied?
Fine, thank you.
Okay. All right, if there are no other questions, a motion at 12K.
I'll move it.
Second, please.
Second,
Thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Cardilla?
yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes. At L, resolution to adopt procedures for administration and inspection of federal aid highway projects.
I have one question. In the attached letter, it says the township received a $962,000 grant from the Safe Routes to School program for the 2022 Adamsville School pedestrian safety project.
Correct.
That's an enormous number.
It is. It is.
I've
It is.
never seen it before.
It
This
is.
is the first time we're seeing it?
Yes, it is. This is, there are federal funds that are involved here. The procedure is much more complicated, and
How many miles of sidewalk we have to add?
I hope a lot. But the NJDOT administers it. So they are the entity that we deal with directly, but it is a very complex process.
But we're gonna have some robust plan to use that.
Yes.
We had to submit it with the grant application.
Yeah.
It's going to
We'll,
really enhance and be nice for that area.
So who wants to move $962,000 of money from
I'll
other
be happy to
other
move
bodies of
$12,000.
government?
Second.
All right, a roll call, please, before anybody changes their mind.
Mr. Cardilla?
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes, as noted, M will be held for another meeting, and N, authorizing execution of an agreement with the Somerset Hills Tennis Association LLC, which is located at 128 Van Cleef Road, Somerset, New Jersey, and Township Recreation Department for spring tennis instruction, summer tennis mini camp, fall tennis instruction for both youth and adult programs. Somerset Hills Tennis Association LLC will provide all tennis instruction for 2023 in an amount to be billed from the Recreation Vendor Trust Fund established specifically for all registration fees collected from tennis programs at no expense to the township. This is basically a pass-through, correct?
Move 12N.
Yes, second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. A roll call, please.
Mr. Cardilla?
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes. Okay, that brings us to 13, which is our closed session. I have the resolution here. I'll read it, make sure there are no amendments to it. Be it resolved by the Bridgewater Township Council that this body will now hold a closed meeting to discuss the following items: public safety, contract negotiations, and personnel. Clarification, we do not expect to take any action after closed session.
No, correct.
Oh, with the exception of adjourning?
Adjourning.
So no additional action will be taken by this body. When and if the matters discussed become public record, this will be made known to the public at that time. The public is excluded from said meeting, and further notice thereof is dispensed with, all in accordance with sections 8 and 4A of the Open Public Meetings Act. I'll take a motion at number 13.
Motion to go to closed session.
I'll second it.
Okay, and on the roll call here.
Cardilla?
Yes.
Mr. Norgalis?
Yes.
Mr. Pedroso?
Yes.
Mr. Ring?
Yes.
President Kirsch?
Yes, so we will now be going to close.